Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am David here with Brian.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast where we can't afford therapy, so we try and talk it out here.
That is correct. And episode 5 is Personal Improvement is Stranger Than Fiction. So, we're going to touch on a little bit with our goals that we had set for the coming months, talk a little bit about employment journeys. I know I've been dealing a lot with that, and I know a lot of other people have as well. And then we're also going to talk about we're releasing a new segment time, and that is underrated pieces of media. I'll be a book, movie, TV show, and kind of expand on it and let other people take a look at it, see what they think about it. So, if you want to start
Yeah,
us
kind of
off,
kind
Brian.
of curious about what it is.
Yeah, yeah. So, as far as personal improvement, I know we talked a little bit about it last episode. As a refresher, I'm setting goals for myself, kind of challenges for each month, and this month has been not spending money on anything other than gas and groceries. I've kind of cheated on it a little bit because I'm still addicted to nicotine, but that's somewhere down the pipeline where I'm going to have to deal with that. But currently, just trying to continue stacking good habits and gaining some insight in kind of why I have these habits. Brian, if you want to talk about your.
Oh, sorry, wasn't cued. My bad. Yeah, I've been also on a bit of a personal goal setting, weight loss challenge, and kind of doing setting sales goals for my side business. I have a $12,000 sales goal I'm looking to reach, and so far I have some pending leads. I don't have anything set in stone, but as I say, you kind of always want to front load that stuff. So, I post in local Facebook groups and on LinkedIn, kind of looking for business. I have a call with a client on Friday, potentially to for paid website. So I'm excited about that. Um, but other than that, as far as my weight loss, also kind of cheating on that a bit. I've been clean eating for the most part since the first. I've uh, I've been trying to go into like a caloric deficit. I don't. If you were to ask me what that is fully, I'm not sure. I couldn't give you a full definition other than
It's like trying to explain traffic to somebody, or like
yeah,
why traffic happens.
yeah. Why do people just all of a sudden slow down? Um, yeah, I don't have an exact definition, but right now just I'm eating more leafy greens and more vegetables and not you know McDonald's and Jets Pizza. So although I did go to Costco the other day and went to the food court and got a pizza because it's oh so tempting, uh, and had a lot of that. But that's really been kind of only my, I would say, major setback. Um, So mostly been good on my goals, I would say, but a lot of room for improvement. I try not to get down on myself too much with it, especially early on, because if I start bulldogging myself now, I'll just quit. So just 1% better every day is what I'm looking to get, and you know that's really, I mean, that's really just what I'm just step by step. I feel like I'm in a feel like I'm in a football interview where it's like, yeah, just gotta execute, next play. We just didn't execute. Coach, we just didn't execute. That's what I'm saying. Just like we got to go watch the film, got to go back, watch it, do better next time. So that's where I'm at mentally.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison because a lot of times, even watching the Lions this year and some of the losses that they had, it really brought out what you thought like their weaknesses, and I felt like it helped them to kind of understand where they were thin at, where teams were going to try to attack them. And the Bills did it, and then the 49ers did it. And both those games, they came back and the games that they had after those, obviously they beat the 49ers, lost to the Bills, but the game after the 49ers was against the Vikings for the division and the number one seed. And they came out and basically shut down a very high powered offense and scored a lot of points on a very good defense. But I think the really those times where we're challenged kind of open our eyes a little bit more and give us a different perspective on these things. But yeah, you're exactly right. And kind of what we talked about last week with the shame thing. If you shame yourself and feel like you you're not disciplined, you can't listen to yourself, like you don't deserve the change that comes from the effort you're putting into it. And the other part of it is trying to balance, okay, well, I can't get too down on myself about these things, but it's very hard to look at what you've been doing more positively compared to the times that you slip up. And for me, that had been a pretty big issue. I know we talked about Atomic Habits by James Clear last week, or maybe a week prior. I know you said you were going to order it. Have you had a chance to look at that more?
Yeah, I ordered it off of Amazon. I actually checked my mail and it wasn't here, but I'm looking forward to actually, reading that and implementing that too.
Are you a physical book guy?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, especially when it comes to like learning like that. Like I still, um, when it's something that's not like maybe coding or something where I'm typing out, if I want to be able to like read the instructions or read the guide. Like I'm very tangible when it comes to that sort of thing. So, um, yeah, I did order the physical copy of it, the soft cover.
Nice. Yeah, I usually do physical copies as much as I can. The kind of trying to get past I wasn't so context, I'm 29, I'll be 30 in May, but growing up everything was printed for the most part. And at least when I was in elementary school, we had accelerated reader on the computer, which was basically a test for the books that you had read. But all the books were printed. We would write things, hand write a lot of things in elementary school. It really didn't get to until middle school or high school where a lot of these things were being typed out. But it is kind of interesting, and it's hard to think about kids nowadays. With the basement flooded, I was helping my mom clean some stuff out, and she had a box of notebooks and binders and was asking me if my friend who's a teacher wanted any of it. I'm like, Mom, they don't they don't write notebooks anymore. Like she just had no premise for it. But
Right.
it's yeah, it's crazy with the technological advancement in things. Like I learned cursive, right? I don't even know how many months it took me to learn cursive, and it's useless now. I know how to sign my name. I remember how to write things, but it's just one of those things that it's just become so obsolete, like a lot of other things that we had learned growing up, I feel like.
Yeah, cursive especially. Like I've always kind of, especially in my adulthood, I've kind of always like written like a doctor on their order or on their prescription. Remember, you always had to take those in. It wasn't always electronic, sent directly to the pharmacy. You had to physically take it your order, your prescription order to it. Wait in line, then come back X amount of hours later. Now it's almost instantaneous. Um, yeah, I write like a doctor. I can't even read my own handwriting. It's gotten so bad. Just because I'm typing out notes or letters or emails rather than actually like writing letters or writing down notes. I'll occasionally jot stuff down in like a meeting. I do enjoy that. Getting because I think I talked about this last time. It's I forget what the actual percentages of you retaining knowledge if you physically writing or typing it rather than just kind of watching something. um it just also helps me remember things later that I need to accomplish after said meeting one-on-one or something like that. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. What is what is the prerequisite for becoming a doctor? Do you have to prove that your handwriting's terrible? Like I never really understood it, or even how the pharmacist was able to transcribe these like ancient cave drawings on a sticky note for what prescription you had. Like it was, I don't know, that whole thing was just mind blowing to me. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really exist anymore. It's like, oh yeah, I'll put in your prescription, it'll be ready at the pharmacy in an hour, and just sent over.
Yeah, yeah, and then you'll like, if you have like you get like text messages from like Walgreens or CVS, and it's like, yep, we got your prescription, and it's ETA is 45 minutes or whatever it is. Yeah, you didn't have that. You would have to call, like, if you didn't get a call from the pharmacy, you'd have to give them a call like 15 minutes before they close and go, oh yeah, we got it right here for you. Um, and Yeah, just like you said, I don't know how pharmacists or pharmacy techs translated that ancient hieroglyphics into into tangible prescription. It's like sometimes it's it's like I feel like if I were to order or have to get like an inhaler and I'm with boner pills, like you know now it's ooh yes. If that happens now today, it's somebody, oh, the doctor misclicked somehow, I don't or typed in the prescription drug name wrong. So
It's like the doctor's like, oh, and then the pharmacist's like,
yeah,
ibuprofen, 800 milligrams right here. Like
Yeah, it's
that's
like History of the World part one, where they learn how to make music. It was just throwing rocks on cavemen's feet
yeah,
to get different tones.
yeah, it is. I'd like to, like a history of music would be kind of cool because a lot of that stuff I still don't really understand. Like how does a violin sound like that? Like I don't get it. Like how does an electric guitar take what you're playing on a string and turn it into a sound like that? Like it just, I know there's, you talk to me all you want about vibrations or whatever the fuck you're gonna say. I'm not gonna be able to understand any of it.
Yeah, I know. It's like, how does having better china, when you like take your finger around the rim, how does that, like, how does having better glass, better quality glass, make that sound? Again, miss me with like all the science behind it. It just, you talk to me, it's gonna be glass eyes in one ear out the other.
Yeah, no, like all that, the luxury stuff, and I don't know if we've talked about it here before, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Give me a plastic cup, a plastic bowl. I don't need china, ceramic, fucking crystal glasses or whatever the heck it is. Like it's a cup. It holds liquid. I'm good. The only time I'm kind of a snob about it is if I do iced coffee at home and I'll have uh not like a Yeti, like I don't know what they would consider it, but it's like a tumbler, like a stainless steel tumbler, and anyone that I've bought before keeps ice cold. Like Yeti's marketing department has to be top notch to get people to pay hundreds of dollars for these coolers, these, you know, upwards amounts of like 35, $50 for these cups when I've bought my tumbler from Bucky's that I think was $8 does like the same exact thing. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like the what do they call those? Like the vacuum. Yeah, there's a specific name for them. But yeah, same thing with like Stanley. It's like some jackass on like TikTok who's like, "Hey, cool! I just spent $50 on this. Buy it." And then everyone's like, "Oh, it's on TikTok now. It's cool." Um, so now everyone has like the Stanley Turbis, whatever it's called, tumbler thing. I feel like every time I get into somebody's news car, they always have like some sort of different color of like a Stanley or fucking Turbis. It's annoying. And you always gotta like remember like in the early 2000s where it's like different fast food restaurants would have like different size cups, and so like car manufacturers didn't know what to do, so they some would fit someone, and then it's like the fast food restaurants were, I feel like we're kind of getting into that new era of that with these like Stanley like Turvis Yeti cups where it's like they're not going to fit in a standard size, Chevy Blazer or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. It's like who, or I guess just like a game of chicken rather, like who's going to change first, the size of these cups or the car manufacturers. But that is another thing that I want to talk about because I have two, maybe three, and one of them is one of those Yeti tumbler things, but the bottom isn't. Uh, the diameter isn't smaller than the rest of the cup, so it doesn't fit in the cup holder. And I really like the cup. My sister got it for me for whatever reason. It has my full name on it, so I don't know why I don't it. I wanted to say mammogramming, but I know that's not it. Whatever the
That's
name is for.
no, you're not. You didn't get a cup with a pap smear on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't getting my titties felt up, but I have a cup with my name on it. I forget what it's called when your name's on something, but anyways, I don't know why she does that because my best man gifts that she obviously did was a Arctic collapsible cooler that says David on it. I have a golf towel that has my name on it. That Yeti cup that has my full name on it for whatever reason, but I don't know what her deal is with having my name on stuff for the gifts that she gives me, but regardless, to get back on topic at least a little bit,
Yeah. Welcome to the
the
podcast where we get off topic a lot.
yeah, so I hope it's entertaining. I hope you also have ADD like we do. Mine's undiagnosed, but there have been signs throughout the years, and
But you just miss them because you have ADD, so you look at the ceiling instead.
yeah, well, it's like they talk about. There's scientific studies, or they've done scientific studies, and it's if a kid really enjoys doing something when they have ADD, then they can stay on task. When it's something that they don't enjoy, they can't stay on task. I'm like, that literally sounds like anybody. So
Oh
how do you
yeah.
like? What is the deviations? Show me the parabola that shows like they are more likely to not stay on task on something that they're not interested in versus just another average person. But regardless, the as far as me not spending money, it's kind of it's snowballed into eating better because I'm not spending money on fast food. I still have a unbridled nicotine addiction, which I don't know if unbridled is the right word, but uncontrolled, whatever it is. And I haven't really, this is what I wanted to talk about too. Like, I haven't really started counting calories either. I just know that the foods that I've bought, and so Taylor, I believe it's called Taylor Farms, but they make this buffalo buffalo salad, and I usually get two salads out of it, and they're like $4 or $5, and I'll do frozen Tyson chicken. So recently it's been pulled chicken, but I like to do the seasoned like grilled chicken strips, and that is that side of me over. Like those things are very good, and they might be a little bit more expensive, but it everything's chopped up. There's a ton of different vegetables that are in there. They give you the buffalo ranch dressing, buffalo croutons, like mozzarella cheese. So say what you want about how fatty the dressings are. I can't get away from cheese. I don't know what it is. Like pizza is my nemesis. I love pizza. Um, but that has been kind of like a staple currently. And what I'd done in the past, and I need to do now again, is overnight oats, which is I'll do old fashioned oats, a half serving of this vanilla protein powder I have, almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, and chia seeds, and this like powdered peanut butter, like P2. Have you ever seen this, Brian? Like seen it at the store or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it helps a little bit with the flavoring, but I as a kid I never really liked oatmeal. We had back in the early 2000s we had the dinosaur eggs oatmeal.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but I remember me basically just picking out the dinosaur eggs to eat with like a tiny bit of oatmeal. So, but I've learned I like I like cold oatmeal. I don't know. The consistency that I get it to, it's kind of lumpy. It's not like soup. I don't know. My mom always made it like soup, and I kind of like cold things regardless. Like I enjoy cold brew coffee a lot more. It has more caffeine in it. It is smoother, less acidic. Like it's great. I'll drink cold coffee all year long, no matter the weather, whatever. So I think I'm just a cold food guy, and that's kind of been where I've been at. But that that helps me in the morning times. Good amount of fiber, carbs to start the day, the protein from the powdered peanut butter and the protein powder that I have, and yeah, it. So by trying to spend less money eating out or ordering food, it's kind of allowed me to also eat better. And in doing that, I'm not really counting calories as much because I'm trying to eat to a point where I don't get so hungry that I just want to order something, or I get too busy at work where I want to order something. So now I'm being more productive at work to try to make sure I have enough time to make something or have enough time to put something together real quick and eat it. And that's been another positive benefit. But even thinking about it today, and I don't know if other people share in this issue, but I think the ordering food, going out to eat, my friends, I think it allows me a certain amount of luxury, like a small snippet of luxury, because I don't make a lot of money. I live with my mother. I'm a loser. If anyone hasn't picked up on this yet, but
Oh, David, you're not a loser. You're only sort of a loser. No, I'm kidding.
oh, stop. Uh, I yeah, I think I don't know, and I was thinking about it too. Like, is maybe the reason people will buy, maybe like really nice furniture for their house, or maybe a pretty expensive car on a lease, or maybe be spending too much on rent for an apartment or something. Like, I wonder if it gets to a point where they just want to feel like certain points of luxury, even if it's taking away from the money that they could be saving. Because I put away money for investment purposes through my job, and then additional money I pay to a friend of mine that I know that's a financial advisor. But I had dreams of goals, dreams, whatever, of owning a house, and it is taking me a lot longer, even looking at my bank statements and that I really wasn't gaining too much money. So between the trips that I had planned, the bachelor parties, weddings, but really going out and ordering food, there were just small transactions that really pile on. And even going through Amazon and picking stuff for like 15, $20 that I probably don't need or whatever, but it's the convenience is the killer. And it's also a lot it is pretty easy not to look at your credit card statement or your bank account to really know how much you're spending each month. It's like going through all these transactions. Like you look at them and oh, that was just $20, that was just $30, but then you look at the date and it's like three of these on one day, three of these the day before. So when you start adding those together, then yeah, it becomes more of a full picture. So it's really opened my eyes and kind of made me realize that I can't really be thinking of these small windows of luxury that I like to have if I have the goals to have my own house one day.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. You know, I'll get like, I don't like eating in the office, even though we have like, um, you know, I'll eat at my desk while I'm kind of working. Have like a sort of mini working lunch so I can have at least a little bit of extra time to kind of go out and go for a drive or go to like the store or whatever if I need to. Sometimes that just kind of turns into an excuse to go to like, I have like a Costco, I have a Walmart, I have a Meijer, which is a local chain here. I have a Target. Like I have all of the retail places around here where I can go and it's like buy a pop, get gum, buy you know de- detergent, whatever I need. But then I'll be like at the checkout and I'll be like, oh, there's a pop in there. There's a Coke Zero in there. I like Coke Zero. I'll get that. And then so like you know buying something not even of convenience, buying something of necessity, and standing in line long enough, I kind of fall for the retail game of adding on to your average order value or their average order value of getting like pop and gum and chips and whatever is way over its unit price that I should be paying, because it's simply right there. That adds up. Like, you know, I'll I'll go grocery shopping for my stuff maybe once every 2 weeks. I'll go to Costco and get a huge bag of lettuce so I can make salads, or get chicken or steak, whatever type of protein I feel like eating, and I'll make 2 or 3 meals for that, and then kind of plan out the rest. Um, all that savings that I feel like I'm like, well, I only spent $30 on meals for the next 2 weeks. And what's it going to hurt to spend an extra $20 today? Well, I keep having that mentality too often, and it just kind of comes back to bite me in the ass, especially when I look and I have like $1,000 credit card payment that I need to make. That I was like, huh, I was supposed to be saving money. So it's the things you don't. It's kind of those silent killers you don't really think about that really start adding up, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, it becomes just so automatic, and when that starts happening, it becomes a problem because you really have to have these things and thinking about them in the forefront of your mind. Because because I only use one credit card, it gets paid off every month. I don't have any long-standing credit card debt. I know that's a killer for a lot of people and trying to get that down because the APR that they charge is fucking criminal. So I it now after a few months of having it, knowing that I am making enough money to the point my spending habits aren't going to cause me to have a credit card payment where I'm not going to have enough money in the bank to be able to pay it. I think that was kind of a killer for me. But at the same time, my bank balance doesn't really increase too much. And if it does, then it's, oh, here's your auto insurance payment that comes every 6 months, or, oh, here's a medical bill, or something else that comes along and just shoots that amount down. So not only like saving up to be able to get a house and have more financial freedom later on in life, but also the payments that you might have to make. Hopefully nothing ever happens to me, but getting into a having a medical emergency or something like that and being stuck with the ER bill for whatever it is, like that, I wouldn't be able to pay that straight away. So yeah, it's with the Zen is something else that I need to work on, but that has been, I don't know, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for a lot of people, but that's one of the bigger negative feedback loops that I have, and that I know a lot of people that have been addicted to nicotine have as well. That you start it, you use it, you like it, and then you get addicted to it, and your body makes you feel like you need it, and it makes you feel better when you use it because you are addicted to it. So it's not really a good feeling having to rely on something like that.
Yeah, you're a zinner, huh?
Yeah, not as bad as a vapor, but still pretty bad.
Yeah, Jesus Christ didn't die on the cross to forgive you of your sins, but you know,
Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson Mount. Kilimanjaro. You're
Yeah,
gonna go climb the summit.
yeah. Sorry, I had to sneak the dad joke in there. I had one earlier at work because I work for a plumbing supply company, and there's a particular type of like elbow or like piping fitting. It's called PEX. We've been running into issues with how our PEX pipes are listed. Like people kind of are under the assumption that when they buy one, it's going to be like a pack of 10 or a pack of 50 because that's how they, you would purchase them at like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Well, we had them kind of single listed, so they wanted our salespeople wanted us to kind of take it down for now so we can figure out what the right quantity is that we need to list. I said, yeah, I'll help you tear down the established pexing order. And everyone kind of just looked at me blinking. I was like, instead of pecking order, they go, ah. It's like, yeah, I had to explain it. It's not as great anymore. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah, it never is when you have to explain it, right?
Yeah, it's the worst. Sounded good in my head, but read the
But
audio, read the room, and I didn't do that.
yeah, I I was thinking about this, and I was gonna talk about it too, like what you said. At least for me, when it comes to the way that I can do the mental gymnastics to buy stuff at the gas station, at least how I have in the past, is that I'm not going to buy a 2 liter of pop or soda for anyone that doesn't live in the Midwest, or a 12 pack of soda, because I know I'm just going to drink it. So
Yep.
the mental gymnastics for me is, oh, I'll just get a 20 ounce, or I'll just get this small bag of chips, or the little can of Pringles, and that's fine, even if I'm paying more for it. So I don't think it's necessarily always about the convenience for most people. Well, not for most people, but maybe for some people, it's that they don't want to buy something because they don't want to eat too much of it.
Yeah, and then in that you're kind of paying a higher unit price, especially for, or just a higher price because if you don't want to pay a 12 pack, well, now you got to get a 20 ounce, which is, I don't know, around here for like a Coke or a Pepsi, I think like 250 now or something. Um, but you look at it and it's like a 2 liter, I think is slightly more than that, or a 1 liter is actually even cheaper than that. They're $1.75 just because they don't sell. Um, but then they go flat, quickly because you're not going to be able to finish that unless you're an animal. So, um, yeah, like I'm kind of in the boat. Like I own a house, not to brag, but kind of like what you were saying earlier with like people talking about like, or when you were talking about if I buy my house but I also have to keep money saved because there are some mortgage companies that require you to have maybe two, depending on like what program you get into. There's some that will require you to have at least 2 or 3 months payments saved up at the time of closing. So you have to keep money of that. But even not with the loan requirements, just having money to, if you lose your job or something happens to you, to have money saved up for, like you say, going to the ER, or even though that you own a home, you have to take care of all of these, the maintenance yourself. Most of them you got to pay out of pocket, unless it's like some sort of disaster that you have in your insurance coverage for it. So, um, yeah, sometimes people don't always take that into account when they make big purchases like that. And, unfortunately, shit happens, and you're going got to figure something out quickly. Otherwise, you're screwed. But yeah, planning ahead of like that is very important too, especially when making said that big purchase. I spent 2 years in the mortgage industry, so I kind of heard all sorts of stories, especially before and after purchase. It doesn't even have to come necessarily to the house. Even if you like a car, right? Like you got to pay insurance on that. That's a different expense. So just all types of things that you kind of have to like figure out and research before, and that's just adding on to the rotation of you know, this pack of gum is the equivalent of, X, Y, and Z. If I keep buy this every week, if I spend $200 a month on gum and pop, then hey, that's like my insurance payment for the month. I should probably stop doing this.
Yeah, trying to not exactly live outside of your means, but kind of things that bring you joy each day. And it's not that you're delaying that joy, but trying to find joy in other things other than whether or not you consider it to be a negative habit. If I made more money and my spending habits that I currently have remained the same, then I would be saving a good amount of money. And I think we might have talked about it on here. I know I've talked to you about it before, but my current job, the amount of work that I do, and even trying to go above and beyond, has really netted me nothing. So I'm not really incentivized to do more or work harder, and it's kind of harder for me to stay motivated, stay on task at home because I can do pretty much whatever I want. Get up, make something to eat, let the dog out, or whatever it is. And I was even talking to somebody today, like just the nationality, uh, the how to explain this. Like businesses used to be smaller, you know, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You try to not give anyone Christmas bonuses, then someone's cousin's going to come and kidnap you, right? Like
Right.
they're in as we've grown as a country and big bank take little bank, which is also a real problem that the big banks continue to get bigger, even though they weren't supposed to after the 2008 housing crisis. But corporations, private equity that have come in and bought some of these smaller companies, and even at my company that owns different a website of portfolios, uh, four different market segments, and the people that are my bosses really have no say in the amount of money that I make, which is just so stupid to me. And what I wish being able to work kind of back in the days in the 70s or 80s, where if you were a good worker and you worked hard and kind of set yourself above anybody else, like you would be relatively successful. And if you had a wife, they could work if they wanted to, but a lot of times they didn't have to. You could have a family, how big families were back in that time, and you had enough money to maybe pay for your house and maybe a vacation home or setting money aside or whatnot. And you knew you were going to have a pension once you retired or social security or whatnot. Kind of getting off topic. It's a very big problem. I think about it a lot, but just all the competition that's come and businesses looking to kind of cut employees' wages because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses are their competition, and they can't afford to pay people more because they have to remain competitive or whatever it is. But luckily, I do have an interview tomorrow, so after this, I'll be studying up for it. And for me, yeah, it has been hard. Like I imagine it has been hard for a lot of people, especially those that don't currently have a job right now, to stay motivated. And even today, I overheard a conversation of somebody that used to work in the tech world and is now working sales at my office, which is not great to hear about, especially considering we paid for that coding boot camp. And I looked at it today and I still owe like half the money that was taken out. But
Yeah. Well. First off, congrats on your, job interview, and um, that's exciting. I was unemployed for 3.5 months myself last year, so I know the stress of looking for a job. Um, especially with having a family and all that stuff. But um, yeah, put all your focus into that. Use ChatGPT to ask questions. Do you know who you're interviewing with, or like what their position is?
yeah, yeah, I know their name. I looked at their LinkedIn it looked like they've been at the company for 12 years. So
Okay.
during the interview, I'll probably bring up something like that about how they've been there for so long. So if they can kind of talk about the company culture and what they like about working there, maybe the position that they're in. I know the recruiter gave me a bundle of knowledge on a lot of that department and relatively small department, and they're looking to bring somebody in like to continue growing that specific uh, they have like an e-commerce website for a materials company, and they want to continue kind of defining roles and building out more and understanding where they need to place bodies at. So it kind of fits into what I do now, where I have for the last few years have found more work for me to do even today with trying to do more process improvement and understanding what data we gather, being able to use that data to be able to do things. But it kind of seems like more of a business analyst position, whereas I would be a liaison between the business side and the tech side and redefining user stories and kind of documenting current processes on how things are happening. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to talk to somebody about it. But I also got news that, well, they're trying to hire fast, but they're also doing after the initial phone screening, I guess you would call it, that I had with the recruiter yesterday. They're going to have two, maybe three rounds of interviews after. So even if I move past tomorrow, then I'm going to have to move past another round and then have to do the final round. And yeah, I've not had good experiences in making final rounds of interviews. I the job I have currently was one round of interviews, and I was hired, but I was also in the running to get a different job that would have paid me like 75% more than my current job is, and I got to the final round there and lost basically. And I've had four rounds of interviews, 2 hours on site for the final round of the interview process, and I didn't get the job for that either. So the only job I've gotten, the only jobs I've gotten have only been one round of interviews. That was like pizza places, a place that turned out to be a multi-level marketing scam. Don't really like talking about that. And then my current job.
Yeah, I feel that. Felt for or fell for an MLM or a Ponzi scheme, like, or almost did, like when I was like 19. Don't like talking about that. I had to go into the what was their quote unquote office and have them rip up all of the papers that I filled out after I kind of realized what had happened. Yeah, that was that was kind of embarrassing because I had my friend with me. Um, but yeah, I mean, just like I was talking about earlier, learn from what didn't happen with those round interviews, or maybe kind of do some introspection on what you thought maybe possibly went wrong, and go back and look at the tape. Just execute next time.
Yeah, and it's tough just because each interview process is different, but there's always questions that kind of stump me, and I've written out probably 15 to 20 answers to tell me about a time when. I want to tell you about a time when I was in an interview where the questions that they ask are actually relevant. I don't need to be, I don't know why they do it. I'm sure there's like some reasoning behind it, but I like interviews that are a little bit more loose in the fact of kind of trying to just drill you down to understand exactly what you had accomplished. And I mean, it's on my resume. I love talking and going over about the things that I've done, and a lot of the things that come back to is like, this made company money. This made company more money. How did you make company more money? Let me tell you about how I made more money for company. Like that stuff's easy to me, but it's like, tell me about a time when you had a dispute with a coworker. Like, what classifies a dispute? Like we have not exactly spirited discussions about things. There's things I don't agree with, and I let it be known that I don't agree with it, but I really just work underneath my manager and my manager's boss. So I can't really talk about the disputes that I have because at the end of the day, I just have to agree to it, even if they don't agree with the things that I'm saying.
Yeah, collaboration's hard sometimes, especially with people feel I don't know, or maybe not as so, like they don't get it as much as you do, right? So, it's especially another reason just to kind of get out of that place. Um, but yeah, again, kind of good luck. I would, what one thing that I did say, I was kind of touched on it earlier, was if you haven't done this already, I mean, you're smarter than I am, I feel, but I would, use ChatGPT to do like give you like 15 or to 20 questions on what, if that person you're interviewing with, like, VP of sales, what would a VP of sales ask, a business analyst for, you know, Target, Walmart or something, whatever the position is or the company, what would they ask in their interview, and can you provide like sample answers? Because that way, at least for me, when I did that, it kind of got me like my brain thinking of almost like a acting exercise, or a football drill. I always forget what it's called, but you're always like on the edge, and you're trying to like people are trying to always try and tackle you, so you kind of always got to be on the edge. Kind of just get your brain flowing, brain pumping on answers, or kind of get open up that tree of potential responses. The other thing that I did, you kind of touched on, was the XYZ method. Is I did X, save company Y, so or A plus Y equals Z. So this is my job title. I did this, and it saved company this amount of money, or whatever the case is. Um, and then thirdly was always have a good story and a good story, a bad story, and then what you learned from those situations. Um, Rule of three. So like you're not trying to like dig up for you know if somebody asks you like, well, how much, name maybe a time that you saved your company money, or what was your worst experience that ever happened. You already have those, and you don't have to like kind of just dig one out of your the back of your brain. It's always there's only so much, like you said, you can prepare for in an interview, um, but kind of controlling what you can control, and especially practicing just based on one or two examples, will kind of give you the best results, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I appreciate the advice, and yeah, of course, I'm going to do a lot of those things. Like ChatGPT, I even use today for like there are newer versions of Excel that you can do things. So that was going to be one of my questions tomorrow. Actually, is like what version of Excel that they use, because since we use an older version of Excel, some of the newer functions that they've come out with over the years aren't available. So you have to create your own macro to be able to
Oh,
use those formulas. So
gross.
yeah. So it ended up just being another step in using ChatGPT to really understand. Well, if I do it in Visual Basic and then putting the Visual Basic into the module and saving it to that file, so now I can use that, and then getting the data together, and like, well, the data's come out, and I use uh, text the columns, separate them from the commas that the data came out with, and then figuring out a way to get all the rows in a single column so I could use that because we were looking at like zip code coverage for specific OEMs. And all this is very boring, but
Yeah.
that's yeah, I mean, it's just like something off the top of my head, something I've done recently that I can talk about because it just happened today. So I feel like that's good going in there when talking about refactoring or kind of going above and beyond, or the data analyst perspective of I have knowledge of how these systems work, so I can use that knowledge to kind of pull pieces from different areas of data to fit them together to be able to make a story out of it and put it to use. So that's definitely something else that I'll be talking about.
Yeah, one win that I had the other day was actually a text to column story too. I had data that somehow got within the cell. It was like a line break, but I needed to like move those line breaks to different like columns for our product listings. And like, come on, there's got to be a way that I could separate these. Well, yeah, within text to column, if you go to like select the delimiter and go to other, if you do Control J, it automatically like uh, picks it up as a line to separate as a line break, and it did like 30 rows of data and separated out them into like 10 different columns. So saved me probably hours worth of work just by
Nice.
doing that. So little Excel nerd back and forth.
Yeah. I want to go visit one of those national Excel competitions.
Oh yeah, the Excel speed runs.
Yeah, I've been seeing videos on it, and I'm like, what the? I mean, it's interesting just as fast as they can do it. I know it piques my interest, but it's not going to keep my interest watching stuff like that, because I think I only watch for like a couple minutes because, yeah, it just becomes boring. Like a lot of other things, I respect the knowledge and skills that it takes to be able to do it, but I just don't like watching it. I'm not going to watch somebody play chess. Like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
But I know we got to move on, just because the credit system in Zencaster is really fucking me and costs me
Yeah.
lot of money. Uh, so
Yeah, you want to move on to the our new segment?
yeah, a new segment brought to you by Zambaba.
Brought
When
to
you're
you by
looking
David.
for ba, get Zambaba. Uh, Coming soon to a store near you. Available everywhere. March 35th. Uh, the
February 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
So
right. So yeah, we're gonna be kind of switching up, maybe doing books or TV or just whatever we feel is an underrated kind of piece of media that maybe we grew up with or watched recently. Kind of going might switch it up every week, but David had one particular one this week that he wanted to kind of give out as homework.
thanks, Brian. Let's talk
Sorry.
about Will Ferrell. What's Will Ferrell's best movie, Brian?
Uh, like objectively or like just
What's your
personally?
favorite Will Ferrell movie?
All of them because I've literally like
No,
say you're turning
no, don't
30.
be that guy.
No, 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 no. There's a story behind it. Okay, like I'm 30. I turned 36 at the end of March. I was unsupervised as in my youth, and I would always watch like Saturday Night Live on Comedy Central because they always do reruns. And Will Ferrell was like the late '90s, early 2000s cast. I literally have grown up with Will Ferrell. He is an acquired taste, and I understand that. I love everything that he does, even these stupid new PayPal commercials. He just makes me laugh. He's like my sense of humor is Will Ferrell. He commits to a bit and just goes with it, even if it's doesn't land. He commits, and I love that. Um, if I had to stick to just one, it would probably be Talladega Nights because that movie is just absurdly ridiculous and it makes me laugh no matter how many times I watch it.
Oh, that's really insightful, but wrong. The correct answer is Stranger Than Fiction.
Sorry. Now I see you came up with the episode name. That's cool.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Little wordplay, which we have to come up with a kind of wordplay segment name for this, other than underrated piece of media. Like that's a little
Is it Stranger Than Fiction? No.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's kind of boring. But the movie itself, so it's a mid 2000s movie, and I had gotten into I was kind of done with the whole Hollywood thing and wanted to go back and see, movies that were made however 10, 20 years ago that were might be considered underrated or that many people hadn't heard of or hadn't watched. And Stranger Than Fiction came up on one of the lists on IMDb, and I looked at it, and it's Will Ferrell, Emma Thompson, Queen Latifah, Tony Hale, who plays Buster in Arrested Development's in it, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and maybe like one or two other bigger name actors that are in it. You remember like the Sonic commercials with the two guys like sitting in their car?
Yeah, yeah, he
Like those
was.
those two guys are in there. So, but it's very it's it's like a romantic comedy, but the premise is that Will Ferrell is the main character of a book, and he starts hearing the author Emma Thompson as the narrator in his mind, and she is narrating everything that he's doing, the way that he brushes his teeth, the way that he schedules things, or when his alarm goes off, like when he shows up to the bus. And he is a accountant for the IRS, and eventually meets Maggie Gyllenhaal. He's supposed to audit this bakery, and she didn't pay all her taxes because she didn't want to pay the taxes for that went to like the military or whatever. So they, that she is the love interest essentially in the movie. But Dustin Hoffman's also in it. And so he's hearing this narrator in his mind, and eventually he hears like, little did he know he's going to die. And he's like, what? Huh? And just like yelling like into the air and just like trying to figure out who this narrator is. And he goes to Dustin Hoffman, who is a professor, like literary professor at one of the colleges, and he kind of like helps him narrow down who this narrator is, who this author is of his own story. And it's just very good, very heartwarming, such a good concept for a film. I don't know how original the concept is, but I really enjoy it. Seeing Will Ferrell in more of a serious role, like he is comedic at times, but the style of comedy is a lot different. And I don't know. I really enjoyed the movie when I seen it a few months ago and rewatched it here recently, and I really can't recommend it enough. It's probably going to be one of my top comfort movies kind of going forward, and I recommend it to just about anyone that likes those style of movies. But feel free to look it up. It's rated pretty high. I rate it pretty high. I don't know what I put it on Letterbox, but probably like 4 out of 5. And yeah, I know, Brian, you've seen it, but it'd been a long time since you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it since it came out, when in the middle of the late 2000s or so. Yeah, it's definitely something I'm interested in checking out again. I was willing to go back and watch Will Ferrell's catalog for you know literally no reason at all. But now that I kind of have like a homework assignment, I'm down.
Yeah. And Brian will be assigning me homework for next week, and we'll go over whenever we get to reading or watching these pieces of media from the other side, or maybe we had both seen it and we'll talk about it. So I already know there are a few movies that I'd like to talk about that I know you've seen before, so we can kind of play off each other. But other than that, we can do like homework assignments and kind of come back and discuss like how what we liked about it and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I have actually one. If you want, I could suggest. It's very off the beaten path.
Go on.
How do you feel about Jim Jarmusch movies?
How do you feel about me not knowing who the hell that is?
Okay, he did the Dead Don't Die movie, like the remake that came out, I think like 4 or 5 years ago. It was with Bill Murray and Adam Driver, where they're two. cops like are deputies in the middle of like this town of nowhere, and then all of a sudden like a zombie apocalypse kind of happens. Um, his movies tend to be kind of very meta, like almost meta, if you will. But the movie that I'm recommending that he did was called Only Lovers Left Alive, which is a 2013 movie with Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, where they're vampires. And they've been married. They don't really necessarily say how long they've been alive, but a long time. Um, he lives in Detroit. His name's Adam, and then Eve lives in French Algiers. And they've been married so long that they've just like for whatever reason decided to separate and live on different continents just because they have kind of like their own way of living. So it's kind of interesting from perspective from that point. And then he has like written music for like every conceivable artist ever. Like he talks about going to see, Eddie Cochran live. He drives around in a car that was designed by Nikola Tesla, like not Elon Musk Tesla, like Nikola Tesla, the famous inventor from the late 1800s. And sort of called different things, but I believe you can actually find this on Stars, which you can get like a free 7-day trial and watch it. But or if you stream
I
it,
have my means. It oh no, The Dead Don't Die is streaming on Netflix actually, not the other one. But I was just looking at this because it kind of looks like a almost like a Scout's Guide to Apocalypse, like a
yeah,
comedic
yeah,
apocalypse movie, a buddy
uh,
cop apocalypse movie.
pretty much, yeah. It's very very dry humor, very very dry. Um, anyway, this movie Only Lovers Left Alive has a 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then it's like a 7.2 on IMDb. So it's actually fairly well, but it just never really saw the light of day as far as, and it was also Anton Yelchin, one of his last movies that he ever made. So um, if you liked Anton Yelchin, he as Chekhov from Star Trek, or gosh, I can't remember all the movies that he did when he was on top of the head, but he was my favorite actor, one of my favorite actors. Um, so that was kind of the reason, really the real reason that I watched it in the first place. But I recommend watching it. It's actually a good movie.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I'm always interested at directors. I don't know what it's like the auteur theory. A real believer in that. That the directors are kind of the narrators of the story, and the sense that these directors have a specific style, kind of the way that they introduce stories. Alex Garland is actually one of my favorite directors, writers. The way that he has stories, the ways that he can make you feel like uncomfortable throughout the length of a film is just, I don't know, so different from a lot of other directors. And of course, you have Nolan and Villeneuve, who Villeneuve's probably my number one, next to Nolan, and then Garland's a close third. But yeah, I am always interested to kind of look at some of these directors, and you see with who is God, who's the guy? Snatch.
Oh, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie, and kind of his approach to directing. You have um, not really a great listening experience, is what you have right now, but David Lynch, which I again, it's one of those things where I appreciated Twin Peaks, but I felt like it was just so dated. So it was probably revolutionary for the time, and people really enjoyed it. But watching it now and all the media that I've consumed, that my brain is kind of rotted into trying to get to a place where if something was very influential at a time, it's probably just been iterated over so many times, or other things that have pulled inspiration from it. So by the time I get to watch it, it's just stale. So yeah, maybe if I ever have kids, once they become sentient, I'll just start them in like the 1970s, watching the original Star Wars, and then we'll move to the 1980s.
Yeah, do like a decades piece, or decades build up, kind of see where we began, and or so to speak, and kind of come to present. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, their iPad. I'm gonna
Yeah,
make it so that they can't do anything but watch old movies. No TikToks, no Disney Plus, none of that stuff. No Roblox streaming or Minecraft streaming. You get to watch A New Hope. You get to watch the original Star Wars trilogy, and then we're gonna move into 1980s films. We can skip Blade Runner because I again one of the ones that cult following, like really any of those like darker sci-fi movies from that era that I would have really liked growing up and going to the movies and seeing, but now they've just been kind of caked over with every other sci-fi movie that's pulling inspiration from it.
yeah, I agree. I like Blade Runner. I like the premise. A lot of it's kind of some of the themes and stuff are kind of coming true today, but that's a story for a different day. Um, do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, that's pretty much it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Stranger Than Fiction to anybody that is a fan of good movies. And let me actually look up now that we're talking about directors because I usually go down a rabbit hole when it comes to this stuff. Uh, Mark Forster, and looks like he had some other stuff. Oh, he did Quantum of Solace. I don't know if he directed it or not, but that was that
Uh,
was the other thing. I watched Mrs. Doubtfire the other day with Pierce Brosnan, who literally did that film and then did Goldeneye, which is just like crazy to think about, especially when he's doing an American accent and Robin Williams is doing an English accent.
yeah,
Yeah, he directed Quantum of Solace and World War Z, the 2018 Christopher Robin movie with Ewan McGregor.
Quantum. Wait, which one's Quantum Solace?
I think that was the one that wasn't very well received.
Yeah, that was like the one that was like down in South America, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was Mark Forster. Interesting. Casino Royale is one I'm thinking of. That was Martin Campbell, who also directed Goldeneye.
yeah, yeah. I think that's it. Just kind of wanted to give a nod to the director of the film since we got in the director talk. But yeah, it was nice hearing from you. We had a pretty good episode out for all y'all this week, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you, if you take the chance on Stranger Than Fiction, I hope that you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye, everybody.